We've got an exclusive. CTV and CBC lied about the Montreal police response to the leaders' debate chaos. And thanks to your help at rebelinvestigates.com, we have the Freedom of Information records to prove it.
Just one point on that. We are inside a secure perimeter. You have to go through screening processes that involve the RCMP. This set we are on, they came in with bomb-sniffing dogs, searched our bags to make sure everything was safe. That's to make sure the leaders are safe and everybody in here is safe. And for whatever reason, the way this evolves throughout the day and yesterday, the Montreal police are here putting up caution tape, escorting people out.
The federal leaders' debates back in April of 2025 were supposed to showcase Canadian democracy. Instead, these debates exposed collusion between Canada's state broadcaster and the taxpayer-funded Debates Commission meant to referee them. Rebel News had twice beaten the Leaders Debates Commission in federal court after being unlawfully barred from covering the debates. By 2025, facing the prospect of an embarrassing third-time loss, the commission capitulated and accredited Rebel News, including myself. That legal victory, of course, enraged the legacy media, particularly the CBC. Rebel News reporters were heckled in the press line, disparaged with lies on national television, and ultimately shut out of the post-debate scrum on the second night when the commission canceled the scrum entirely rather than allow questions from independent media. I know how it went down. I was in the room the whole time, subject to vile workplace harassment for 2 days straight. I guess we were too good at our jobs on the first night after upstaging the entitled bullies in the mainstream media.
You caused an incident that caused the security concern that got this Q&A shut down. So Ezra Levant, I blame you 100% for the Q&A being canceled.
There's not 13 rebels here. T-Invexty doesn't work for us. You're angry because you didn't
it's a Potemkin village, right? You have as many outlets as you can start up websites, right?
I don't even know what Ricochet is. I assume you take government subsidies. I assume, is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean,
Indian territory for your policies, but here in Canada you support censorship and words that you think are unacceptable, especially through censorship online, and you actually refuse to answer questions from journalists with whom you do not agree, as you have just done. So you should be punished in one way or another, is the impression that leaves. So how are you different than people who would put you in prison? Answer. That is another example of why I do not answer questions from Rebel News, because you are spreading disinformation, and your question is an example of this.
You didn't hear me. Over 200 Christian places of worship have been attacked in Canada since 2021. Many served First Nations communities, many were historic, and they diverted police and resources and put others at risk. What do you say to Canadians who see your refusal to answer, especially from one of the few media outlets here that are not funded by the state, as proof that a vote for you is a vote for a dangerous radical party that gaslights the public into thinking it stands against hate when its silence is instead emboldening Christophobia?
Your question is another example of why I don't respond to agencies like Rebel News that promote misinformation and disinformation.
The most violent anti-Semitic crime wave in history.
Yes.
There have been shootings, fire bombings, even a riot right here in Montreal. But not all of this anti-Semitic hatred and incitement rises to the high level of a criminal code offense. Do you believe that foreign nationals, that is, people who are not Canadian citizens, should be deported for participating in these hate marches or other pro-Hamas activities that don't rise to the level of a crime?
Well, what I have said is when there is a crime involved, including crimes of vandalism, that visitors to Canada should be deported. You simply can't come here and firebomb a Jewish bakery or someone's home or smash windows out of a political riot and expect to stay in this country if you are on a visitor visa. We will be bringing in tougher laws to penalize those who are permanent residents and citizens who break laws and harm our communities.
Why have you never not even once, opposed OPEC conflict oil being imported through an aging pipeline. Why do you prefer OPEC conflict oil over Alberta ethical oil?
I seem to believe that you already have the answer you want to write, so your question seems to contain the answer. I believe I am the one who authorized the change of direction in Enbridge Line B in 2013, which seems to prove that I'm not a fanatic against oil. But I believe that we've got to reduce our consumption of oil progressively, including from Alberta, because we are clearly being very expensive for every family in Quebec and Canada.
Hey, Toronto Rebel News fans, listen up. Rebel News is celebrating 10 years of fearless journalism with our 10th birthday bash, and you're invited to join us. Last week, hundreds of Rebel fans packed our Calgary party for an unforgettable night of music, food, and fun. Now it's Toronto's turn. Join us on Thursday, October 16th at 6 p.m. near Black Creek and Lawrence for a night you will not forget. Expect a lively evening with Rebel News journalists and crew, past and present, cocktails, hors d'oeuvres, and of course, a birthday cake.
Happy birthday, Rebel. Happy birthday. Happy 10 years, Rebel. There you go. That's what we're talking about there.
Now, after the post-debate scrum was canceled on the second night of the debates, CTV senior political correspondent Mike Lecouture reported, and I quote, "There were Montreal police on scene and other increased security measures in place." Then, CBC's histrionic crybaby, David Cochrane.
Bob, I'm going to come to you on this. Here's what's going on here. To my left, there's the room there where the media is gathered. It's where they can watch the debates. This is where the scrums are happening with the leaders. There was some sort of an altercation inside there in the last little while involving Ezra Levant, who is the head of Rebel News, and other journalists. Michel Cormier has escorted Ezra Levant out. His credentials, we believe, has been revoked. Earlier in this program, you might have seen sort of some glitchy video playing because we had to go to tape because Mr. Levant and his people came over with cameras rolling and tried to interrupt this broadcast, which is something journalists do to other journalists, I guess.
Falsely suggesting that Rebel News accreditation had been revoked. And he went on to state that Montreal police were on scene to protect him. From what exactly? Me? Drea? Alexa?
Police are here putting up caution tape, escorting people out. And the leaders of Canada's four parties who were able to participate in this debate, because they, what was the phrase? Didn't feel they could provide or guarantee a proper environment. They're not going to take questions from journalists. And look, I know not everybody thinks it's all about us, but it is an important part of the ritual of elections and democracies and accountability. And it is part of the stress test that these leaders go through as they seek to lead this country, and spend your tax revenue and make laws, and some serious things being discussed there tonight about criminal justice and using the notwithstanding clause. These are all things that require a serious and mature debate, not financially motivated stunts. And this is where we've ended up in this election. With everything going on with Donald Trump and everything going on in this economy and everything going on in the world, this is where the national Canadian election debate has ended up. And it's just exhausting. And it is the end product of multiple years of rage farming for narrow political gain and financial benefit for a very small group of people who blew this up today.
All in all, the message was clear. Independent journalists were such a disruption, such a threat to the safety of the mainstream media that the Montreal police had to be called in. Again, look at this footage from inside the media room. Who exactly are the aggressors here?
How much money have you spent to influence this election? I'm assuming in favor of Conservatives. How much have you spent? You're a journalist, you must be honest. So, Rebel News Limited, you've set up and registered under Elections Canada. Everyone else, you can go to Elections Canada right now. Every third party is registered. Search Rebel News owned by Rebel. It's owned by you. Sorry. The truck is for Canada, which is owned by you, which is separate from Rebel News, which is also owned by you. You want me to pull up the website? I can go one by one.
Control your emotions.
So, I'm just enunciating.
You're out of control.
But now, a Rebel News Freedom of Information request to the Montreal Police Service, the SPVM, exposed the lie. Officials confirmed they have no records of any involvement whatsoever. No calls, no messages, no officers. Security inside the debate venue was handled by the RCMP, not SPVM, and certainly not because of Rebel News. But this is all part of a pattern of dishonesty from these people. This isn't a one-off mistake. CBC's own ombudsman admitted in April that the 2025 election set a record for complaints, more than the previous 3 months combined, with the leaders' debates at the center of viewer outrage. Why? Because CBC lied there too. I just mentioned some instances. They claimed our Rebel News billboard truck was breaking the law. It wasn't. They claimed our journalists disrupted the debates. We didn't. We were the victims of the disruption. They claimed accreditation was revoked. It wasn't. And Rosemary Barton falsely told Canadians that remains of Indigenous children had been found.
These claims have been disproven by bands that excavated and remain unproven by those that have not. Will you condemn the rise in acts of hate against Christians today and explain what your party will do moving forward to keep Christians safe from hate in Canada?
Again, thank you, but I'm not going to respond to an organization that promotes misinformation and disinformation like Rebel News. So no, I'm not going to respond to your question.
A statement later quietly corrected online to acknowledge only potential burial sites.
You saw Mr. Singh, and this has been his position for some time, to refuse to answer questions. Rebel News in particular traffics in misinformation, facts, lack of facts, and as you heard in that question, which was woven with some truth and some things that weren't true. Yes, there have been burnings of Christian Catholic churches. Yes, there have been remains of Indigenous children found in various places around the country, which she misrepresented. We'll see if Mr. Poilievre gets any questions from right-wing organizations. I would suspect no.
It's true. The CBC ombudsman admitted many complaints were found to have merit. Translation, viewers caught the CBC lying and the network had to concede it. These people are just manufactured victims with manufactured stories. The debates were supposed to be about Canadians hearing directly from their leaders. Instead, they became about the legacy media protecting their turf. CBC and CTV weren't content to just report the facts, and the facts were interesting enough. They positioned themselves as victims. They smeared independents as aggressors and even invented a police presence to make their storyline stick. The Freedom of Information documents and the Ombudsman's report prove this wasn't a mistake. It's a pattern. With Prime Minister Mark Carney pledging another $150 million to the CBC on top of its $1.4 billion annual subsidy, Canadians should expect more of the same. A state broadcaster and their friends that manufacture narratives, not news. These liars should be made to apologize, but they won't. Instead, they will be rewarded with more of your money to lie to you some more. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. This story was made possible thanks to your generous and so important donations to a special independent investigative journalism crowdfund at rebelinvestigates.com. Thanks to those of you who make this important journalism possible. Again, that's rebelinvestigates.com.